Program 4. Diverging and converging. If you could add one new feature to your mobile phone, what would it be? When we ask people to think about a problem like this, technically, this process of creating one or more ideas is known as divergent thinking. They normally come up with some good, solid ideas quite quickly. Typically, they suggest things like electronic wallets, better speakers for parties, turning the phone into a remote control, and even using the phone as a way of locking and unlocking their house. All interesting thoughts. However, if we give them a bit more time and encouragement, they often come up with more unusual ideas. These include things such as being able to photograph clothes in a shop and then have your bank phone you as soon as you can afford to buy them. Or making a phone that works underwater so that you could phone your friends when you're scuba diving. But why bother searching more widely? After all, if the initial ideas people generate are good, why go to all the trouble of exploring further afield? It's just going to take time, and that's time which you could spend implementing the ideas you have. Well, there are 3 reasons. First of all, people tend to pick better ideas when they have more to choose from. Second, the longer you diverge, the more unusual your ideas will tend to be. To put this another way, it takes time to get beyond the obvious ideas. Third, really wild ideas, even though they may not work themselves, often act as stepping stones to help you reach more workable ideas. So there are real benefits to putting time and effort into this process of searching for ideas. However, just creating ideas isn't going to let you solve problems. If you want to actually solve a problem, you have to choose at least one of the ideas and put it into practice. Otherwise, nothing will happen. Now, this process of narrowing down and choosing ideas is known as convergent thinking. So, divergence is exploring. You could think of it as making a list, and convergence is evaluating, making a choice. Now, at this stage, you may be thinking, that's all very well, but why are we telling you this? And to answer that question, we have to think about breathing. Yes, we know that sounds rather unlikely, but honestly, it will make sense in a moment. One of the reasons that breathing works so well is that your body only focuses on one process at a time. You breathe in or out, not both together. If you tried to breathe in and out at the same time, it really wouldn't work very well. As a side note, we do know that some musicians can do this, but we think they're just showing off, and so for the purposes of this program, we're going to ignore them. So, most people don't breathe in and out at the same time. Unfortunately, lots of people do try to diverge and converge at the same time. In other words, they look for new ideas, and as each one is found, they try to establish whether it's any good. People tend to do this even more when they're feeling stressed. For instance, have you ever tried to help a friend solve a problem when they're really worried? The conversation often goes something like this. How about no? Okay, but what if we no? All right, but couldn't we? No, no, no. I'm doomed and I will have to live the rest of my life in a box. There are 2 problems with this type of behavior. First of all, it can be very demoralizing. Who wants to have all their ideas shot down? However, the second problem is more important. Almost all new ideas have easily identifiable faults. Getting to a workable solution takes time and a certain amount of optimism. So if all the ideas are evaluated immediately, the net result is that only the very obvious and safe ideas get selected. And this is a terrible waste of effort, as it means that most of the interesting and unusual ideas, which could have led to breakthroughs, get squashed and rejected. So what should you do about this? The answer's simple. Don't breathe in and out at the same time. Or to put it another way, when you're making a list of ideas, don't judge them. Remember our last program on delaying your judgment? This is where the skill pays off. Then, when you've got a long enough list, choose the ones you like. And here's a very important tip. When you're making a choice, try to keep that optimistic frame of mind. Look for what might be good about each idea first. Now, we said the answer was simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy to do. In fact, consciously separating divergence and convergence takes a lot of practice. And of the two, converging while still being able to see the positives in an idea is probably the hardest. This is particularly true when you're feeling under pressure. So, before you go any further, let's get some practice. Please take a piece of paper and generate a list of new features you would like to have in your mobile phone. Try for at least 30 ideas. You can put anything you want on the list. You're working purely divergently. No judging at all. Pause the program and then restart it once you have your list. Okay, time to turn your judgment back on, but remember to keep that optimistic frame of mind and review your list. Select 3 ideas which you think would be the most valuable to you. You're now using convergent thinking. Pause the program again and restart when you're ready. If you can learn to consciously separate divergence and convergence, it will make a huge difference to your problem-solving skills. And strangely enough, one of the simplest ways to improve your ability is to pay close attention to other people's behavior. Spend some time today listening to people's conversations. Instead of listening to the details of what they're saying, try instead to notice their mode of thinking, whether they're diverging or converging. In particular, try to notice when people are mismatched. Typically, this would be where one person is suggesting ideas and the other person is saying what's wrong with them. After a little while, you'll find that you're becoming much more aware of not just their thinking, but of your own thinking as well. And awareness is the key. Once you can see what your mind is naturally doing, you can start to manage the process to achieve the best results. See you in the next program.